Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another video from RxJS Unveiled series. In this video, we'll be talking about the CombineLatest operator. So what exactly CombineLatest operator does? Let's first go through the definition of it. So it says it combines multiple observables to create an observable whose values are calculated from the latest value of each of its input observable. What that means is that let's say we have two observables and we have emitted uh, value from each. So the first observable uh, has emitted a value and the second observable has yet not emitted a value. So what will happen is until unless second observable has emitted one single value, the first observable values would be ignored, and only when the second observable has emitted a value, it would show the value. We would see this more detailed in the marble diagram. So that's what the definition says. It accepts an array of input and it gives the same sequence. So that's another key point. That's what we have seen in zip as well as in the poke join. So it's kind of in the same sequence that whenever whatever sequence you give the input, it would get the output in the same order or the sequence. So let's see the marble diagram now. So let's look at the marble diagram. In this marble diagram, this is the first observable and this is the second observable. So what we see is the first observable emits value A and second observable emits a value 1. But if you see the sequence sometimes, once the A was emitted, there was no value or there was no subsequent value from the second observable. So until unless one value has been emitted from the second observable, we don't see an output. Similarly, once you get B, so you must be thinking that until unless again a value has been emitted from second observer, it won't emit. But it doesn't happen like this. We have seen this feature in a zip operator. With the CombineLatest, what we see is whatever values is there in this observable, it would emit. So it would just wait for each observable to emit once. Once they have emitted a single value, it would not wait for the observable to emit the values subsequently. So what we see is B is emitted and the previous value was 1, which results in B1. Similarly, once the value 2 was emitted, B2 comes. And when you see 3, B3 would be coming. And then 4, B4. Similarly, C4, D. So for D, after there are no new values, so it would actually take the last value from second observable. So D4, and again similarly with E, E4. So that's about the marble diagram. Now let's see the examples. In this example, we have two observable. One is this and second one is this one. So in this observable, what we see is first observable is having an operator off with a delay of 1 second, and the second observable is an interval operator with 500 millisecond, and we will be taking only the first three values of it. So what I've done here is I've added a map to better understand which observable is emitting their values. And at the end, I've just given both the observable as an input to the CombineLatest. So note here, this is an array. Okay, so what we see is that we get three values. How do we get three values? Because take three, that's for sure. And what we see is that we get first one. One is coming from this, and 0 is coming from the interval. Okay, and then we get first one. So what we see is that one is emitted from the first observable and there are no further emissions, so it would just take the last value from the first observable for all the three outputs. So for the interval it will be 0, 1, 2, but for first observable 1, 1 and 1, it would not change anything there. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this example. Let's see another one in which we would be actually using both the intervals. In this example, we have two intervals, first interval and second interval. First interval is having an interval of 1 second and second interval for 500 milliseconds. First interval, we are taking only the three values, and second interval, we are taking only the first two values. So what we see output is that once the value from second interval was emitted, there was no corresponding value or there was no value emitted from the first observable. So that value was not taken. But then we got a value from first observable after 1 second. So what we would see is value from second observable was used, as well as the new value which was emitted from first observable is also there. Okay, and even since what happened is that another value was already emitted because 500 milliseconds. So another value was already emitted. So we would see a new value, which is second one, but still we would see the last value from observable one was 0. So first 0. Okay. Now it would not emit any further values because it take off 2. But this would still emit one more value. Actually 2 more values. So what we would see is it emits one value, so first one, and the last value from second observable was 1, so second one, and it would emit one more value, so 2, and last value from observable 2 was 1. Let's see this using marble diagrams to better understand it. So I've just tried to replicate this using 10 milliseconds and 5 milliseconds. So first observable emits 10 milliseconds for 3 times. 10 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds, 30 milliseconds, 3 times. Second observable for each 5 millisecond. So 5 millisecond, 10 millisecond, only 2 values. So this is what I was saying, that second observable has emitted a value over here, but there is no value from first observable. So there is no output. But then once this value was emitted, this and this became 0, 0, which you were seeing in this 0, 0. And then what you were seeing is that, okay, second observer actually emitted one more value. So for this value, there was 0 from the first observable. That's why you see 0, 1. Since it is maintaining the sequence, it's 0, 1, not 1, 0. Okay. And now what we see is 1 and 2 got emitted. So 1 and 1 would be 1, 2 and 1 would be 2, 1. Does that make sense? Cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it from the CombineLatest. So we have seen how forkjoin works. The limitation of forkjoin was that it was not able to handle a sequence of values. We saw that using interval, and then we tried to use zip operator. With zip, the problem was that it was waiting for all the observables to at least emit their pairs, so only then it would be able to give a result. But then we saw the operator, which is CombineLatest. In this, what we are seeing is it is not waiting for the pair, and it supports sequence of string. So yeah, this is a go-to operator which we would see in many real life scenarios, especially when we are using NGRX store. So yeah, I would like you to explore maybe the code bases which uses NGRX, and you would frequently find CombineLatest there. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. See you in the next one. Till then, happy coding.
Yeah, I'm nervous on the surface, I look fine. My brain feels heavy, my